Good morning, Northeastern. It is a pleasure and an honor to stand here again as we remember our veterans on yet another Veterans Day. As we begin this Veterans Day assembly, would you please rise as the color guard for Mount Wolf VFW Post 2493 present the colors and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the singing of our national anthem.
Guard, hold. Left, face. Reach, set, forward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First to go. Forward. Left, face. Forward, forward.
First, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Gay for allowing us this time to honor our veterans on this Veterans Day 2020. We all know and have experienced the many changes to our routine that 2020 has brought. But there is one thing that remains, and we can be assured of this, is that our brave men and women of the armed forces are still on the job, protecting and defending our country. Here we gather once again, November 10th, the day before Veterans Day, and our country still has men and women in harm's way somewhere in the world. 102 years ago tomorrow, November 11th, 1918, the guns fell silent over the battlefields of Europe with the signing of the armistice, ending what was referred to as the war to end all wars. Today, we know that event is World War I, but it was not until the world collapsed into another global conflict known today as World War II. Originally named Armistice Day, November 11th, called Veterans Day since 1954, is a day to honor and recognize the brave men and women who have served and continue to serve in our armed forces. American men and women continue today to serve with distinction, and throughout American history dating to the Revolutionary War of 1775, and additional military conflicts including World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and most recently, Iraq and Afghanistan. Our military has been in many other countries around the world helping in the struggle for freedom and democracy, such as Grenada, Panama, Haiti, and Bosnia. These places may not be as familiar to us as locations such as Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, Incheon, the Mekong Delta, Kabul, or Baghdad. But they are no less important, for they all symbolize service and sacrifice on the part of our military veterans. As I reflect upon this program, I still cannot find better words than those spoken by Captain John Miller, a character in the movie Saving Private Ryan. Just moments before his death, Captain Miller speaks two very important words to Private James Ryan: earn this. I believe this film to be a window into a time in which uncommon valor was commonly practiced. What we have done as a nation to earn what our veterans, not just of World War II, have done, but all veterans who have donned the uniform of service and sacrifice. Have we individually done something to make someone else's life a little bit easier or better in some way? I would like to ask each of you sitting here today this question. What do you believe about this country? Do you believe it is worth protecting our way of life and the blessings that freedom has provided you each day? Do you believe it is worth defending the very freedoms that give us an individual an opportunity to worship freely, or to speak freely his or her mind, even if it is contrary to popular opinion, or something that someone else may find offensive? Do you believe that Americans are the only people who should have the opportunity to enjoy the very blessings of a government that grants freedom without the fear of oppression and reprisals? It does not matter today your political affiliation or your personal stance on important social issues. Today is a day to honor the men and women of our country who have served this country with pride and distinction as members of the United States Armed Forces. It is through their unselfish sacrifice and service of our military veterans who served in times of war and also times of peace that we are able to gather here freely today. America has long been the model of democracy for the world. When freedom and liberty have been threatened, the American soldier, whether on land, on the sea, or in the air, has responded. In the movie The Lost Battalion, Major Charles Whittlesey said, "Life would be a lot simpler if we could choose our duties and our obligations. We can't and we shouldn't." A World War I song says, "Blood shed for all, sacrifice and tears, love for our flag and country dear." That belief is embodied in our veterans. These brave men and women stepped forward to serve when the nation called. Some left the safety of home and the familiar for the uncertainty and danger inherent in a war zone. Many of us here today know veterans, some whose service to country ended years ago, some who are currently in harm's way. And we honor and remember them as well today. Veterans Day is not about sales at a local department store, nor is it a marketing pitch. Every day we should take pride and the time to honor our veterans and their sacrifice, which has made our country what it is today. I challenge each of you that when you see a veteran, say thank you. It is only a small token of appreciation, but it can mean so very much. So it is with pride and admiration and a sincere thank you that we conduct this assembly today. There are several members of our faculty, staff, and our school board who are veterans of military service, and I would like to recognize them now. Mr. John Eister, United States Air Force. Mrs. Susan Schleig, United States Army Reserve. Mr. St. Clair Simmons, United States Army Reserve. Mrs. Wendy Seifert, United States Army. Mr. Eric Hornberger and Mr. Chris Slay. At last year's assembly, I had the opportunity to introduce 3 of our Bobcats who had completed their basic training in the United States Army as members of the Pennsylvania National Guard. This year, I have the privilege of introducing another one of our Bobcat family who graduated a few years ago from Northeastern, but has agreed to be our speaker here today. I had the opportunity to sit with him for an interview last week. It is my honor to introduce to you today 1998 Northeastern graduate, Sergeant First Class, United States Army, Anthony Gillick.
Hey, Tony, welcome back to Northeastern. It's a pleasure to have you as part of our Veterans Day Assembly here at Northeastern this year. First question, what was your high school experience like?
Very interesting. I had a great time at Northeastern, and honestly, I still talk about that to this day. I wish I could go back. I originally came to Northeastern beginning in 8th grade, was entered into a program called the About Face program. Within this program, I met teachers such as you, Mr. Swartz.
Yeah.
Now,
I remember that.
Yes, sir. Now, obviously, I was a young knucklehead, constantly in trouble, running around with absolutely zero accountability for my actions. Spent numerous days on suspension. Funny enough, while sitting there counting those days in internal suspension, I used my time to threaten you almost daily. I had convinced for a while there that I was going to steal the rims off your Honda CRX.
Yes, you did. That's my first memory of you, sir.
Yeah. I believe at that point, I helped you quickly develop ulcers. And months after that, I began to use caution. Because I honestly thought you were going to run me over at one point or another as I walked the rudders.
Yeah, I don't remember you ever saying that. But you would have made an interesting hood ornament for the CRX.
Yeah. Moving forward, I started high school pretty much on the same path of trouble. In an effort to keep me from causing trouble around the masses, I was put into classes with Miss Donball or Miss Vicky Smith at the time, depending on what the class was. I was actually the only student in there. Obviously, I continued my trend of giving teachers heartache and headaches and heartburn daily. I took that task on as if it was my job. However, Ms. Donball was always there for me. I knew in these classes I'd start to see where my life would go, what I can be. And I honestly never forgot that support I got from her. Through the years, as I just mentioned, with the help of extremely resilient teachers in field hockey, I started to mature. I stayed out of trouble. I got decent grades and surprisingly enough, even won as the Northeastern Homecoming King.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah. Like many of you, I wandered the halls trying to piece together my post-graduation future that was rapidly approaching. I was too busy having a blast, to be honest with you, within the Northeastern halls and on the weekends with no cares in the world. During my senior year, I enrolled in an electronics program at York Technical Institute, but unfortunately that changed quickly when I found out my girlfriend was pregnant. Based on this, obviously I had to make some decisions, so I decided to follow my family's path, which was serving in the Marine Corps. Upon graduation in 1998, I left for Marine Corps boot camp and eventually graduated and became a 0331 infantry machine gunner.
I wanted to ask, what made you choose the Marine Corps?
I chose the Marine Corps because honestly, that was the family branch.
Okay.
I currently had a uncle serving as a sergeant major at the time in the Marine Corps, and So it became one of those, if you join anything else, we're going to have problems conversation. So I joined the Marine Corps.
Okay. And then, what was your experience like in the Marine Corps? I honestly, I think the Marines have the slickest uniforms. Their dress uniforms are Class A. But, can you tell us a little bit about your experience, boot camp, maybe some of the things you did, while in the Marines?
Absolutely. Well, again, upon graduation in 1998, I left for boot camp and eventually graduated, became what is a MOS job of 0331, which is infantry machine gunner. Shortly after arriving at my first duty station, which was at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, because of my rifle scores and my fitness scores, I was offered the opportunity to try out for the Scout Sniper Platoon. I made the selection and was able to operate as a Scout Sniper for my 8 years within the Marine Corps.
8 years?
Yes, sir.
Holy smokes. I thought it was 6.
No.
Okay. Well, again, you have an interesting path in the military, because I remember you in the Marine Corps. I remember you coming home. I remember meeting you and a couple of your buddies, when you came home to York. And then you ended up in the Army, which I don't think there's a high percentage of men or women who have served in the military who will serve in 2 different branches. How did that come about?
To be honest with you, I'm going to have to back that up a little bit. How I got there, while serving in the Corps, participated in numerous training events, multiple deployments. Luckily, got to visit over 16 different countries on the government's dollar. Thank you. But
you're welcome.
While providing combat support in Kosovo and Macedonia during 2001, my 2-man sniper team received a radio message that obviously changed my life forever. And that message was an order for emergency extract. We didn't know what was going on, but shortly afterwards, we found out about the attacks on American soil that obviously took so many lives on the 11th day of September. Shortly after loading up and going back to base, we packed everything up. We jumped back on helicopters and we flew back to our naval ships, and we sailed as far east as we can go. Now, obviously, we didn't know it at that time, but we were to be the first Marines on deck in Afghanistan in 2001. Now, fast forward in a couple of years, my friends were starting to leave, and I started to feel the same way. So I decided to leave the military. My short stint as a civilian obviously was pretty challenging. I was lost. I felt lost. And to be honest with you, I was bored a lot of the time. Because of this, and because of ongoing wars that you see or we saw daily on the news, I decided to make my comeback, like you talked about, Mr. Swartz, back into the Army. I was eager to get back into the fight one way or another.
So you decided then you were going active duty. And I remember you were assigned to 4th Cavalry down in Texas. I don't remember exactly where in Texas. Mm-hmm. But then you knew almost immediately that you were going to redeploy later that year. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Once I got back, I decided I'm gonna stick with the active duty Army. So I absolutely, I got moved to Fort Hood, Texas.
Okay, that's right.
Yep, Fort Hood. I was a part of the first Cav, 3rd Brigade, 1st Cav, and upon my arrival, we were deploying 5 months later.
Okay, I remember that.
Yep. So we, back to back, within those 1, 2, 3 years, it was back to back from Baghdad and right on back to Mosul in Iraq.
Okay. So again, how many different times have you been deployed? Just out of curiosity.
Numerous tours, 7 combat tours, 4 Afghanistan and 3 Iraq as of now. but numerous other training tours, the Kosovo, the Kosovos, the Macedonias, and of course the European tour that I got to go on and enjoy with the Navy.
Because I know the flag that's over my right shoulder, that's folded up in little box, is one of those that you had sent to me, and it has a certificate. I don't know if that's the one from Iraq, but you also sent me one from Afghanistan, and I display them proudly in my classroom and tell my classes when I do flag etiquette, where they came from. So I'm really appreciative of that.
Yeah.
So your active duty. So you have been around the country. You're now in Fort Benning, Georgia.
Yes,
the last time we actually saw one another, you were teaching an ROTC class at Purdue University in Indianapolis.
Yep.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily, I was leaving Afghanistan for my last deployment in 2016. According to infantry branch, I deployed a little too much, and I needed to take what they call broadening assignment. They kind of gave me a couple options, and one of those options was to go and serve as a military science instructor for Indiana University, Purdue University, right there in Indianapolis. So, of course, as a member of that program, I was responsible for the training and development of those ROTC cadets within that college environment. It's definitely a great opportunity. I thought teaching was fun, and it truly opened my eyes to what the teaching, what teachers do and the faculty do on a daily basis. Totally different respect that I never had before.
Well, I know I wouldn't want to be one of your students, what you put the ROTC kids through. I wouldn't have survived. But anyway, it's interesting you mentioned, the education and your newfound respect for it, because given your notable history as a student here, I'll just let it at that. You have made some amazing accomplishments in your own education. Can you talk about that briefly?
Yeah. For me, to be honest with you, I have it started, I really wanted to do college. I didn't know where to begin. I really it just lacked. I had no motivation to start. Luckily, my wife came. She went to college. She was educated and helped kind of push that issue in the house and motivate me to do the same. Once I got started, I enjoyed it, and I didn't want to stop. I wind up pursuing a bachelor's degree in business. I finished my degree while I was in Afghanistan. And at the same time, I applied and got accepted immediately into the master's program for business, again, while serving overseas. And so I was very fortunate to get accepted from Texas A&M, where I do have my master's degree now in business.
I know. I often tell students, never say never. Again, I use my own experience when I was in high school. I couldn't have spelled college. It wasn't on the radar. And again, I assume probably the same with you when you were in high school. You never thought about college. It was about getting out, and then life changed. You went in the Marine Corps, and life continued to change, and you've done some amazing things, and the military has given you those opportunities. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Obviously, when the wars were hot and heavy for a time period there, it was very challenging, and you had to take that personal responsibility towards your educational goals. If you didn't, well, to be honest with you, you were the only one to blame, and I didn't want to put myself in that position.
And again, I tremendously applaud you, because I think it's amazing, knowing you as a high school student and where you're at today. You now have made the military a career, so you're obviously getting close to retirement. How many more years do you have?
I'm done now, but I plan on serving at least 2 more years.
Okay, so you have your 20.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I lost track. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Again, so now you're. What are you doing now? Because again, you were an ROTC instructor, and I remember you talking about, making these young college students who are going to be officers someday, who are going to outrank you.
Yeah.
So I know that doesn't sit well, but it is what it is.
Yes, sir.
But what are you doing now? Because you're down at Fort Benning.
Yeah, I'm over here at Fort Benning. Fort Benning's the home of the infantry, home of the armor. Has numerous schools, glorious schools that everyone wants to come to. That's in the Army, like your Ranger School, your Airborne School. So what I do here is I actually serve on the boot camp side, the infantry boot camp side of Fort Benning. I serve as an equal opportunity professional. And with that, I help advise commanders. I obviously teach, and I help foster environments and try to eliminate discrimination, harassment, hazing, and bullying. Here on base, I am one of 7 members that actually do this job. So there's only 7 of us across this post. We service over 100,000 service members, family members, and Department of the Army civilians.
Over 100,000.
Yeah.
Whew, I knew it was big, but holy smokes. So is this where you probably will be for the remainder of your military career? You said another 2 years?
Yes.
Okay.
I finish my assignment. My assignment role ends December of 22. I signed an extension, so it expires December of 22. 3 months later, I'll be out of the Army.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for your service, and it's tremendous that you have, served as many years as you have. Again, it's working with veterans has become a passion of mine. And doing these assemblies again has just been an awesome opportunity for me. I want to give you one opportunity, to talk directly to the students. What advice, words of wisdom, from a 1998 graduate, what would you tell the students at Northeastern High School today about planning for the future, and just becoming successful? Because obviously you have.
To be honest with you, the biggest thing I think about, and of course, it's maturity talking as years have gone on. The biggest thing I think about today is don't take your teachers for granted. Their jobs are hard enough. Help them help you, to be honest with you. Help them help you. What you put in to your academic side, what you put into academics will ultimately pave the way for your future, whether that be college, a tech school, a future job, or a leadership position within the military. You might not believe it while you're going through the classes, but these classes can and will save your life one day should you choose a path in the military. They're all interlinked. Just don't take your teachers for granted.
And do you have any other parting words? This is your opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, before we wrap up, I just want to thank obviously the Northeastern staff for making me the man I am today, the leader I am today. I know at different opportunities or different periods, there was probably debates of whether I stay on as a Northeastern student or do I get expelled. So I appreciate the resiliency of the staff and the teachers and the principals and just fighting through it and sticking with me. I definitely want to thank Miss Donna Burns, Miss Sarah Updike-Smith, and of course, Mr. Duane Swartz, for obviously helping me for over 20 years. I'm definitely truly grateful for your friendship, and all of you have been wonderful inspirations and mentors. Now, of course, Duane, your support and initiative towards veteran programs is wonderful. Thank you for helping so many veterans in your daily work. Many of the things you do obviously go unnoticed, but promote values of great citizenship. As a veteran and as a community member, I definitely appreciate your efforts. All right.
Thank you.
And then, of course, lastly, I want to say thank you to a woman I hold near and dear to my heart, and that's Miss Vicki Smith-Donball. Obviously, without you, I would have never have graduated high school, let alone lead soldiers and bring soldiers home alive. You are my biggest supporter, always have been. Without you, I would definitely be lost. I thank you for never giving up on me, obviously. Teachers like you are a rarity and absolutely hard to find. I want to congratulate you on 35 years of teaching and your future retirement. I'll definitely be there with you. I love you, Mama. Thank you for your time and attention, Northeastern, and thank you to all of our veterans.
We could not gather here to honor our living veterans without taking a moment of silence to remember those who have served with distinction, but who are no longer with us. In the poem In Flanders Fields, written by a Canadian soldier in World War I, the poppy has become a symbol of remembrance of our veterans. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce head amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn and sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands below. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. Let us take a moment of silence to remember those who, in the words of Abraham Lincoln, gave the last full measure of devotion, and those who served, who have passed on since the last time we gathered here for Veterans Day. Thank you. I would like to personally thank Mr. Weichert for his time in creating and putting together our Veterans Day Assembly this year. I would like to thank Odyssey and Mrs. Drenchko for their rendition of our national anthem. To the members of the VFW Color Guard for presenting the colors. And thank you to John Hunger and Nathaniel Melando for their rendition of Taps. Thank you very much, and happy Veterans Day.